Hi, everyone. We are live today. Thank you for joining me. If you are joining myself and my guest today, please in the comments down below, #live. And if you're joining us as a replay, #replay, and do tell us where you're from. We love to know where people are from. I'm always coming in from Mexico. My guest today is from Australia, and he will tell you where in Australia. And I have to thank him. He had to get up so early for this interview. God love him. I mean, really, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you want to make any comments, you know that you have to allow StreamYard to use your name. You have to click on StreamYard and allow them to use your name. And if you just want to react, either a thumbs up or, how much I love hearts, just send us a lot of love, a lot of hearts, and we will be so happy. So as you know, I usually like to start my interview by telling you what my guests and I have in common. We do have one mentor in common, Tony Robbins. We're both members of the Progress Next program. Now, I've explained this before. Progress Next is the next level of the original KBB program that was started by Tony and Dean at the end of 2018. KBB standing for Knowledge Business Blueprint. Progress Next is the next level. And so we know now that the power of these two programs, really the same program, have helped thousands of people in 50 plus countries get their online business started or scaled. So I've said this before, I joined with the first launch at the end of 2018. Now, Nate, my guest, joined with the third launch, which is the Progress Next program. And of course, we met online. We meet the nicest people online. I just never knew that could happen, but it's been my experience. And so I just want to let you know that, and you know what? Let's bring in my guest, say hello to my guest, and we'll go from there. All right, there you are, Nate. Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. It's early here in Australia. I'm from Melbourne, so what's the time? It's just after 4 a.m. here in Melbourne. But I'm glad to be here. It's a pleasure, and it's lovely to be here interviewed by you today.
Oh, thank you, Nate. I mean, I can, thank you for getting up so early to do this interview. I know the time zones are really very very difficult. And so I just want to talk about, you were the first time I knew about you is we have Dean Graeske, who goes live every Monday on our Facebook group, and Dean featured you. And that's when I was familiar with who Nate Graeske was. And then I was also very surprised about how you were helping millennial males to get off of prescription medication, because I thought whenever I heard drugs, I thought they were hard drugs, but I never, I always associated prescription drugs with older people, never thought that it could happen to somebody your age. So I was very, very surprised. So I know that you've taken your mess and making it your message. So can we start with, how did you become addicted to prescribed meds?
Okay, so yeah, that's fine. So it all started with a sporting injury. I got injured first playing. We play a sport here called AFL, Australian Rules Football. It's a weird game if you've never seen it or played it, but it's a very tough sport. So there's always a lot of injuries. There's no padding like an American gridiron or rugby. There's no padding at all, and the hits are usually harder. So I won't go fully into what it is, but I just know it's a tough sport. So it was in 2013. I got injured, and I got injured that bad that I had a collapsed lung, broken ribs, and I had to go to hospital over it. Long story short, they didn't think I had a collapsed lung at the time. They sent me out of the hospital. They chased after me because they made a mistake. And they told me in next 10 minutes, like I was rushed back in and they were cutting me open because I had a collapsed lung. Because if I went home, I would have died that night, because that's what happens with their collapsed lung. So that's where I first started with the prescription medication, because in hospital, you get given this thing called diamorphine. And if anybody's been to hospital, you're being given diamorphine for any surgeries. And diamorphine is pretty much, well, it's not pretty much, it's pure and medical heroin, legal heroin. That's what they give you in hospital. So I first had a taste of that. Coming out of the hospital, my doctor was prescribing me painkillers like OxyContin, and I was using it for the pain at the start. So that I first had a taste for it in 2013. I didn't get addicted then. It wasn't until 2016 where again, another sporting injury, playing the exact same sport. I tore my ACL. That's a anterior crucial ligament in your knee. And my brother told me about this doctor, and I started seeing this doctor. And from there, he was prescribing me OxyContin every 2 weeks. And it got to the stage where he had to get a morphine permit, because here in Australia, they changed the rules because people, and you probably know in America or Mexico, that people go doctor shopping or chemist shopping, different chemists get the different scripts. So they changed the laws here in Australia that you have to be registered, and that for any Schedule 8 drug. So it got harder to do that. Not that I was doing that, but that's what just happened. So the doctor had to get a morphine permit for me. After he got the morphine permit, I was getting him prescribed, like I said, every 2 weeks. At first, I was taking it for the pain because until I had surgery on my ACL to get it repaired. But then eventually I got addicted, and I wasn't even taking it for the pain anymore. I was taking it because I was addicted, and I felt like I couldn't be happy without them. So, yeah.
But how did you know that? I mean, you couldn't be happy without it, you're saying. So you didn't even try to get off to see if you were, if you were back to normal, like what you felt like before as an athlete, especially as an athlete, with rigorous training. You would think that you would have that mindset that, hey, I want to be back on the field. I want to keep playing, and I don't want to be, with these drugs in my body.
Yeah, of course, but a lot of people don't realize, Lucy. A lot of people don't realize the struggle of how hard it is to come off painkillers. It's one of the most addictive drugs. It is. They call it hillbilly heroin for a reason, because it's basically legal heroin in a tablet. It's just that it's sold under the big pharmaceutical companies. They made it legal, you know what I mean? So there's a reason why people say that heroin is the hardest thing to come off. Not that I've tried heroin. I'm just comparing the two because they both come from the poppy plant. They come from the same thing. One's illegal, one's legal because the big pharmaceutical companies made it legal. So to say, why didn't I try? I did. I tried to wean off it because they say don't just go off it because the withdrawals.
Right.
Even though I did, I went cold turkey to quit everything eventually. But it was so hard to come off, and it's a fake reality. So that's why I thought I couldn't be happy without them, because when you take them, it releases all this serotonin, natural chemical in your body that makes you happy. But what happens after time is that your body's not producing it, releasing it naturally. These drugs are how do I explain it? They're doing it for you and releasing way more than you should. So your serotonin levels are depleted naturally. So to reproduce it takes so much longer. So that's why I thought I couldn't be happy without them. It was this fake world that I created in my head from these drugs.
Right. Were you doing a job? Were you in a relationship? What was the situation of your life at that point?
Yeah. So I had a kid. I had a life. I was going to work every day. I was functioning not like normal, as normal as you can be. A lot of people didn't know. I didn't take them during the day. I took them when I got home at night and just switched off. It was a way that I switched off. I had a traumatic past. I never dealt with it until recent, like in the last year or so. But so it was a way to switch off. Yes, it was a way to be happy, but it was a way to switch off and not deal with anything. So I was functioning normal. I went to work. I had a job. I had a roof over my head. I had a partner, and that all came kind of crumbling down because that's what happens. Like when you don't deal with anything and avoid things. And I was in this vicious cycle, and I knew I had to change.
So you knew you had to change. Did you lose your partner? Is that what happened? Did you lose your job? I mean, and here you were with a child. I mean, what woke you up?
So what woke me up? Well, I did lose my partner. I think that it was the painkillers were to blame, but I don't think the relationship was working anyway. So they say everything happens for a reason. Life happens for you. Tony says it the best. Life happens for you, not to you. So I don't look at it like, oh my God, I lost everything. I just look at what can I learn from this situation. Mm-hmm. And yeah, with my son, I wasn't doing them while I was playing with him during the day and stuff. Yeah, I was still doing them at nighttime while he was sleeping and like I was in bed. And was it the safest thing to do? No, because I wasn't in control of, well, I thought I was in control, but you're never really in control when something else is taking over your body or you're putting, and I wasn't just taking them, I was abusing them.
Wow.
I'm lucky to be alive, Lucy, to be honest, because I was taking upwards of 250 milligrams of OxyContin a night. And if any medical practitioner out there or any medical person knows, that's a death sentence. That's a death wish. God. Not that I wanted to. I wasn't doing it to, like, I didn't want to kill myself. Like, I was depressed and that, but I didn't want to like end my life, Ed. But I was just taking so much because I had to take so much to feel what I originally felt, because what happens is the more times you take things that your body gets used to it. So you need to up the dosage. Right. So that's why, yeah.
Well, you talked about a traumatic past. Can we talk a little bit about your past and how you think that affected your situation with the prescription drugs?
Yeah, of course. And it wasn't until I started working on myself that I realized the connection between the both. See, 2/3, I'll just start with this fact and then I'll go into my past, but 2/3 of all people that are addicted to substances have some sort of childhood trauma. Now and that's over 70% of people. That childhood trauma can either be sexual, physical, verbal abuse. It could just be from an accident, just some sort of trauma that a child experienced often leads to substance abuse, and because we try to mask it, but we don't realize why we're getting addicted to certain substances. So my childhood trauma started with first with my parents when they first split up, and like many of us out there that have had parents split up, and at such a young age when you need your parents, like, and you don't understand. And it wasn't like a nice breakup. It was a breakup where my parents fought against each other, like pulled us to one side, like used us kids as kind of like on their side. Yeah. So we were torn against each other, or against each parent. And then I just shortly after, I was sexually abused by a family member, and I never dealt with it. And not only sexually abused, I was mentally abused, physically abused. I got kicked out of home. My mum did the best. She tried her best, and I love her dearly, but it wasn't easy. She was mentally. I watched my mum be mentally and physically abused. I watched my mum be hospitalized from her partner at the time that hit her in the head with something. So and he did the same thing to me. So it wasn't an easy childhood. Like, and
Yeah.
I think we spoke about this off camera a little bit about this, and you're meant to feel safe in your own house. I didn't feel safe at all. It was that bad. I had to ask to go to the fridge to get a drink in my own house. And as a 12, 13-year-old, like, oh, not even that, like from 11 years old to up until 16 till I got kicked out of home, I had to ask. It didn't feel like my house. I locked myself in my room. So I had all these things build up inside me, and it led to doing hard drugs from 18 to 23. I stopped all that, and then, but it was just this flow-on effect and then that led into painkillers. I was always looking for something to mask my pain instead of dealing with it. And I think that's what addiction really is. It's a Band-Aid effect. It's something like a Band-Aid, you put over it just to fix it temporarily, that pain. So exactly the same with the trauma. And it wasn't until I started dealing with it and going deep and really understanding that it was my trauma and facing it. And that's why I can talk to you about my past today. See, a lot of us look at our past and don't want to bring it up because it brings up a lot of shame. It brings up hurt, and it's not easy to deal with. But once we can truly own our past, I'm not saying what happened was nice. No, not at all. It was horrible. I wouldn't want anybody to experience it. I'm sure people out there have experienced something 10 times worse than I have. I know that they have. I know this is just my story. So it's not that I'm saying that, you have to like love what happened. Just like once you own it and realize that it happened for you for a reason, that's the biggest breakthrough for me. When Tony said that life happens for you, not to you, I always knew that there was a reason all these things in my life were happening. I just didn't know what. And now I understand what it is. And it's for me to help people out there to get through their mess by sharing my mess and my story. Because and use my story as a bridge for them to help them heal. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely. You mentioned the we in the family, so you had siblings that did go through the same trauma that you went through, and how did they cope with it?
Yeah, so I've got two brothers, one older, one younger. I'm the middle, like they say, the middle kid syndrome.
Yeah, I know that well.
Yeah. I've always felt like I'm the odd one out, but with my brothers, like I've always looked at things differently. So with my brothers, they experienced, I don't know about the sexual abuse, maybe. I haven't spoken to and see, the thing is, sometimes you ask questions and they'll lie because they're holding on to that shame, or it's too hurtful or painful to talk about. So I don't know.
Diet too.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't know about that, but I know the mental and physical abuse, they definitely experienced the same, and they went down the same road with drug, not painkillers, but with drugs. My younger brother has been to jail twice. And he was kicked out at a very young age, so they experienced it the same. I'm trying to help them with their past and get through things, because they're on the other side where they blame their past for their current situation, whereas I took the other approach. I realized that I couldn't blame things for my past, because living in that state is just, it doesn't get you anywhere. I know that's hard to hear for some people out there, but blaming people and living in that victim state leaves you trapped. It gives all your control to somebody else, because you're saying it's their fault I'm like this, instead of taking control. And again, I'm not saying it's easy or nice, but once we can own our past, and it really starts from talking about it. And my message for anybody out there that has something from their past that's holding them back, I'm not talking about speaking in front of thousands of people first. Talk with someone that you can trust with, that you you trust, and just start small, because it's so freeing once you start talking about it. You don't even realize, just talking about it, how freeing it can be, because it's built up inside you and we suppress it and we're shamed by it, but we shouldn't be shamed by it because it is our past, and a lot of us, it's childhood trauma and it wasn't our fault. So
Yeah. So did you actually seek the help that the mental help that you needed, or did you come upon Tony and self-development on your own? How did that happen for you, really?
Yeah. Okay. So it did. It was the first lockdown last year when as for like many out there, when the world went into this crazy time we're still living today. Mm-hmm. And I had a girlfriend, a partner at the time, and it was, they say everybody in your life is there for a reason and everything happens for a reason. So I truly believe that, even though I'm not with her today and things didn't work out, but if she was just there for one reason in my life, that was for me to change. And I'll forever be thankful for her for that, because she's the one that made me want to change. Like, yes, I did the work, but she's the one that, when the relationship was on the line, she said, you need to stop these painkillers, you need to get your life together, you need to go see a therapist, like a psychologist, you need to talk about your issues, your past. Because I'd spoken to her about it, and but I didn't tell her everything, because like the sexual abuse, it's one thing telling people about your past, but when sexual abuse comes into it, like, it's shameful. Like, that's what you think. But again, it's not your fault. You didn't choose for that to happen. So like, don't be shamed. There's no reason to be shamed about it, but that's what holds us back. So it was her that got, and I'll be forever grateful for her. So she got me to see a psychologist, and that's when I first spoke about the sexual abuse and spoke about the past. And there was a lot of crying, because it held me down for years. Like, I was imprisoned by my past, even though I didn't blame my past for my future. I never let it get in the way, but subconsciously it did, because I hadn't dealt with it. So I started by doing that, and then I found Tony Robbins. I knew who Tony Robbins was, like the name. I'd heard the name, but I didn't know what he was about, and I got into him, and that's how this whole thing started. This whole self-development started, and it went so well. Like, I got off painkillers, I was off everything, I was doing so well. And then here in Australia, because we're in our 6th lockdown now, but last year we went into our 3rd lockdown, and our lockdowns are like, you can't leave your house unless for 4 reasons. 1, getting food. 2, going to the doctor. 3, walking for 30 minutes, or the 4th reason, I forget the 4th reason. But so our lockdowns are pretty strict. Like, we're basically just in our house. So it's so easy to get depressed and fall back into your old ways. And that's what happened with me. I was doing so well, and then 6 months had passed, and slowly bad habits started creeping back in. I had surgery on my nose. I had to have surgery because I couldn't breathe all my life. I only could breathe out of one side of the nostril. So I had to have a major surgery on my nose, like rhinoplasty, septoplasty, where they put cartilage, and it was a 6-hour surgery. And from there, I had painkillers again. I told them not to in the hospital, right, because I just didn't want to take them. I'd rather feel the pain. Wow. Anyway, after it, I fell back in the trap of seeing the doctor, but my girlfriend at the time was in control of them, so I had no control, so I couldn't abuse them. But that just started this slippery slope again, and before long, I had to have another surgery earlier this year in February. I had to have my gallbladder out. So many surgeries, huh?
Yes.
So many. This is what happens, guys, when you don't look after yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why it's important to look after yourself. I had to have my gallbladder removed. I had 100 little stones, and I had one stone that was 3.6 centimeters.
Wow. And
if no one knows, the diameter of your hole, the hole out of your gallbladder is 6 mil. So it's 0.6 of a centimeter, and I had one that was 3.6 centimeters. So there was no way of that passing. So I had to have my gallbladder out, and then I couldn't work for 4 weeks with having my gallbladder out, and then I went back into that slump, and I got addicted to them. And it wasn't until I found that, and the relationship like broke down. I was by myself, and I got to the point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I need, like, I have a son. And my son, see, I didn't have choice growing up. I didn't have much choice, and I don't want my son to have that. And I didn't have that father figure. So I knew I had to be, not that I was a bad dad at all. I was good, but like I felt like I could be a lot better. I was just not being the person who God put me here to be. You know, I wasn't living up to my true potential, and I wasn't happy. So I knew I had to do it for myself, but I knew I had to do it for my son.
Your son.
So and then, I found the Own Your Future challenge, and the rest is basically history now. So I met Dean and Tony all again, and met this amazing community they've created. And I bought Project Next, went through the course, and here I am now. And now I get to help people, millennial males out there, deal with painkiller addiction and anxiety. And now I've got a course online. Just a few minor technical issues, but it's live. It's on mastermind.com, and I've never felt better.
That is such a great story. Thank you so much for sharing it. I know we have Mike, who says we have a lot in common. His parents split when he was 10, and he also resonates with the middle brother syndrome. He says, I've never been addicted to anything, but I was very reckless at certain points in my life, and a girl changed my perspective as well. And we hear over and over, with every successful man, there's a woman behind, because of the love connection. That's what we're all seeking. That's what we all want. That's connection.
That's true. And Mike, that's amazing that you never got addicted to. I can understand the reckless behavior because of the trauma. Trauma usually leads to you doing reckless things, but you were the lucky one. Well, no, I'm not lucky one, but you were a part of the 30% that didn't get addicted to a substance. So and the girl that changed you, they're amazing. I'm not with mine, but I'll be forever grateful. And it's just made me realize like what I could have. Do you know what I mean? Like people, like humans are amazing. Humans, Tony says this all the time, what humans will do for others more than what they'll do for themselves is amazing. Like they'll do more for others than they do for themselves. And I've seen it. So, yeah.
Well, he thanks you for sharing that wonderful story of yours. So would you just say that Project Next, that program really changed your life?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, Project Next. I've bought courses. Like I started this journey last year. I bought a few courses, and I never really finished them. There's so many people out there that we start things and we never finish them because we have that momentum and that motivation. Motivation only lasts so long, but I like to say motivation is kind of like Red Bull. If anybody, or an energy drink, it gives you energy for 3-4 hours and then you come crashing down. People think that having motivation, they say, oh, I don't have the motivation to do this. It's not that. It's motivation alone is not enough. You know what I mean? So I started these courses, never finished them, but Project Next came along and it was the first time. And yes, I'd changed my perspective, but it was just from that first module, like getting the right mindset, getting in the right mindset, because without the right mindset, nothing's possible. With the right mindset, anything is possible. And the way they broke it down and doing the 7 levels deep and finding your why, that's really the biggest thing, finding something that's greater than you when you're going through your toughest times, that will get you through your toughest times. And that creating that mindset was amazing. And then going from that to them teaching you how to get your own online course up there, because a lot of us, well, I know I'm 33, but I wasn't I've never been good with technology. I never thought I could get an online course, but literally within 3 months of starting the course and completing the course, I've got my own course online. So it's like for anybody that I would suggest anybody to buy it out there, because it literally will change your life. I know you got to do the work and be committed, but it's basically a step-by-step. It guides you through. It takes everything, all the worry out of it. Like, and a lot of people don't like selling. They teach you that selling is a service. And I know for anybody that hasn't done that, hasn't done the course, like, people get funny about selling, but when you're selling something that you're truly passionate about, it's not selling, because you know that people need what you have out there. Otherwise, you're doing them a disservice.
Absolutely, and you know, that is part of the mindset also. That sales is really, it's really service more than anything else. And you are doing. I mean, you have a great message, and you know, you have a great mission. And so, you know, for you not to put yourself out there and put your course out there, it would be a disservice to so many people like you who have been in that mess, you know, for you not to share your message. You know, as we were talking pre this interview, your first mission was to take down the pharmaceutical companies, I think. You know, what made you switch? I mean, you know, I know that you must have been angry. You went through all of that. And so where did that get switched to what you're doing now?
Yeah, okay. So I had that thought in a shower. Don't we? We have some of our best thoughts in showers. I don't know about you, but I do. I don't know what it is. It's just something happens in the shower. I just, all these ideas and thoughts run through my head, and like a lot of us, I'm assuming, because I've spoken to a few people and they say, yeah, they have ideas in showers and that. So I came up with this idea in the shower, and it was like, I wanted to take down the big pharmaceutical company. But then I realized that that's living in a state of blame. I'm blaming the pharmaceutical companies for what happened to me, and I realized that, yes, while the drugs are out there and they're backed by millions of dollars or billions, it's a $1 billion industry, they didn't force me to take it. Yes, and my doctor should have had more of a duty of care by giving them to me. I told him I was addicted, but living in that state and blaming everybody is not the way to move forward. Otherwise, then you're giving your control to them. And I realized that, like, if you really look at it like that, then shouldn't I take down McDonald's? Shouldn't I take down alcohol companies? Shouldn't I take down tobacco companies? All this stuff is out there, and I'm not saying that they don't persuade people to take their products. Yeah, of course they do. Like with fast food companies, their ads are everywhere, and that's why there's an obesity problem in America. I'm not from America. I just know that, like the stats and that. But when you take that blame away and realize that you're in control of your life, no one forces you to do anything. I'm not saying it's easy not to fall into these traps, because things are everywhere and you get told that they're not good for you, but like no one tells you the side effects or the bad things from taking these things for a long period of time, or even food for, like, you know what I mean? So that's when it shifted, because when I realized that I'm giving my control to everybody else or to these big pharmaceutical companies, that's when my mission changed. And because when coming off it, I'm like, yes, I'm going to take these people down. I'm going to stick it to these people. I'm going to get these, like, just like the past, where, because cocaine and marijuana were once legal, then they became illegal. So I'm like, I'm going to take these big pharmaceutical companies down and make these painkillers illegal. Mm-hmm. And then my whole mission changed, and I realized that I need to just take control of my own life, and my mission will be to help millennial males out there, like people like me, or in my sort of age group, that I can relate to. I can relate to a lot of people more, but I knew I had to shorten it or narrow it down, because otherwise it's too wide. So I've got to help a small amount of people first, but it's not even a small amount. There's a lot of people in my demographic that I'm trying to help, and then I can broaden it.
And of course we know the power of one. If you can help one person, it starts with one, and then and then it's a go. So that is so. Let's talk about the course itself that you put together. Now, it's called Reclaim Your Life. Is it not? Okay.
Yes.
And so, tell us, as far as you're concerned, in a course, what kind of the framework of the course, if you don't mind, you don't just kind of explain to us what you thought was important in this course to get to the millennials so that they could change their mindset, because that's what needs to be done.
Yes, that's correct. So the way I structured it was exactly the way that worked for me. Okay. And I know things work differently for other people, but I knew that the way I had to structure it was, like, first of all, because this is what changed me, having the right mindset. So in my first module, it's all about creating the right mindset. Without the right mindset, you're not going to get off painkillers. You're not going to, even if you are off them, you're not going to stay away from them. You need to create this invincible mindset. My first module is called Creating an Invincible Mindset. Right. So once I create that invincible mindset with my clients, I move on to actually understanding addictions and anxiety, because my course is to help people with anxiety too. Because I think a lot of the times we don't actually understand our own addictions or anxiety. We don't look into that. We don't tie that with other things in our life. You know what I mean? So really understanding it, because if you don't understand it, how can you ever overcome it, or how can you ever get over it or stop it from ever happening again? Because and then in the third module, I go deep with creating habits and routines, because I think it's so important. With an unhealthy habit or unhealthy routine, we start making bad decisions. We just basically don't make great decisions. So I think in having habits and the routines, healthy ones, creating healthy routines is so important for everyday life and to move us forward. I also talk about withdrawals in module 3 too. So basically, I go from taking them and creating this invincible mindset with my clients to them understanding why they might have been addicted to painkillers in the first place, to understanding anxiety and what to do and how to deal with it, then going into the withdrawals, because the withdrawals let me just touch on withdrawals. Withdrawals of these painkillers is brutal, very, very brutal. And I did it cold turkey, not once, but twice. I know, crazy. And every doctor would tell you not to do that, because the effects of it are brutal, and they say you can die from doing it cold turkey. That's what they say, because you can vomit and die, you can lose a lot of fluids in your body and stuff like that. But so I just take them on this journey, because what worked for me, I know will work for others, and then they can create their own habits and routines and really reclaim their life, because this is all about reclaiming your life, because you're not in control of your life when something else is in control, like painkillers or anxiety. When you let that control your life, or even your past, when you let that, you're not in control. So my course is all about reclaiming your life, getting over that other side, and then having all these other options to move forward.
Right. And I just want to say, Mike just says that I agree. The mindset is everything, and it's a never-ending story, really. I mean, I don't know how you keep yourself going every morning, but mindset for me is the first priority in the morning every day. Every day I have to work at it, and so I'm sure it is like that for you also.
100%. It never stops. Life is not life is a marathon. There's no finish line. We're always looking for a finish line. We're always looking to relax. Right. I'm not saying that you need to be full on every single day, do everything full on every single day, But if you want to relax and get comfortable, then you're not going to get to where you want to get to. And like we're always looking for that finish line, but there's no finish line. And you got to constantly work on things. I'm human. Like I have down days where I don't want to do things. And like, I'll be honest with you, this week I had a couple of those days, and I still meditated in the morning, still did a few things, but I just had to sit because we're in lockdown. Like I said before, we're in lockdown here. And I had to just take a step back, and I got into like, I was watching stuff on TV, but I was like, oh, what am I doing? You know, so I'm human too. Like I have these lapses in time, but as long as you can pull yourself, first of all, realize what is happening. Because if you don't realize what is happening, you're going to fall into that slump. And before you do realize, it's too late. The biggest thing I learned is momentum. Tony talks about it in module 1 of that Project Next. Momentum. Never lose that momentum. You don't, like I said, you don't have to do things extreme every single day. But if you work out or you go for a walk, even if you don't want to one day, just do 10 push-ups. Just do 5 push-ups. Just go for a walk for 2 minutes. Just don't lose that momentum. You know what I mean? Just do something like a little tiny thing. Like you might think that it's not worth it at the time, but trust me, it is worth it. Because once you lose that momentum, that's where we fall back into things that weren't serving us from our past.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. So so that's very interesting. So now you mentioned that you do have your course on mastermind.com. It's ready to go. It's so people can go to mastermind.com and get your course, right? Reclaim Your Life, it's called, right?
Yeah, that's correct. It is live on there. There's just a few technical issues on the back end, but we're sorting that out with Mastermind, just with the pay now option. So hopefully that will be fixed in the next couple of days. And but yeah, it's live. You can go check it out. It's called Reclaim Your Life. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm proud of myself.
Absolutely. I'm very proud of you too. I mean, it's just so wonderful. Now, this is going to be a great example for your brothers. I mean, you're going to really be teaching them by example. You don't have to be talking to them. They will see what's happening to you. They will see how much you're being able to help people. Even Mike says, I wish you all the best, Nate. You will change a lot of lives. And he says, and I'm excited for you. So
thank you. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I really do. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate those kind words and you saying that.
So how do you, I know that it's one thing to put a course up. It's another thing having to market. Do you have any thoughts about how you're going to do it? You did talk about podcasts, and I think your platform is Instagram, is it not? I mean, that's where the millennials are mostly, right?
Yeah. So I have, like everybody, I have Facebook and other social media platforms. Like I just started a TikTok because I think TikTok can be so valuable, and it's not all about music and dancing. It can reach so many people are on TikTok these days. Instagram is my preferred platform. I just like the platform. There's nothing wrong with Facebook. Everyone has their own preferences. Everyone leans to something more than something else. But yeah, Instagram is my platform, and it's just my Instagram is just my name at Nate Graeske, same as the screen.
It is. It's down there at Nate Graeske.
And that's
his name is Graeske.
Yes, it's Nate. A German background. My dad's German, so it's a German background. But I'm active on Instagram all the time. I'm offering so much free content for my audience, and I do live daily thoughts every single day. I've been doing them I'm up to episode 47 today. So they're like mini podcasts on Instagram Instagram TV that I post to my page every day, and I know it helps people out there, and I love doing it. So yeah.
So that's great. So we know how they can get in touch with you. What advice would you give anybody, and it could be any age person, if somebody who wants to get online, doesn't know where to start or who to trust? I mean, what would be your advice to that person? We've already talked about several things that helped you, that helped me. You know, what would be your advice to those?
I think my biggest advice, well, just before I give my advice, Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi will not let you down. So if you don't know where to start there, because they're the OGs in this space, and that's the best place to start. But even if you didn't know about them, what I would suggest is, like, you need to model someone, because you can't do this alone.
Right.
You need to. People are skeptical of, like, buying things or paying for things to learn things, but, like, there's so much free content out there, like on YouTube and stuff and all that stuff. And while that's great, but you'd have to look, no one wants to look through like 100 different videos and then put it all together. The best and quickest way to learn anything is to buy a course, or do a mastermind, do a workshop with someone that has done what you're trying to achieve. So the quickest way to get anywhere, so my advice is, the quickest way to move forward in life, or the quickest way to get to where you want, is to learn off somebody that's already got what you want. Surround yourself with those people. It's proximity. Proximity is power. They say you become the average of the closest 5 people to you. So instead of start feeding your mind with people that have what you want, because that's how you're going to get it. Like, can you do it alone? Yeah, you probably can, but it's going to take years. Why take years when you can compress decades into days or weeks or months? And it's the quickest way to learn. It's the fastest way to learn these days. So that's my advice, is to really model people, model the best. Find someone that has what you want, or is offering what you want, and really go after it and learn from them.
Yes, that reminds me, as you're talking, that reminds me of Tony Robbins' mentor, Jim Rohn. Wasn't it Jim Rohn that said success leaves clues? You know, so
yeah, that's I'm glad you added that. Yes, I love that saying, that quote, or saying, success leaves clues, because it does. If you want, it's the quickest and fastest way to do anything. I think a lot of us are not stubborn, but we're like, nah. Oh, well, we're brought up and we're like, we want to be independent. I know I used to be like that. I was like, nah, I can do everything on my own. I've always been on my own. I don't need anybody else, but it doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
When you let go of your ego and realize that somebody else can help you, and that's when you move forward.
Absolutely. Well, so I know that mindset's a big thing for you in the morning. Is there anything that you do for your body that keeps you, I mean, other than some exercise, like Tony says, movement is everything, because, it gets you in the momentum. Is there anything that you can offer our audience as to, how to keep healthy bodily, the mindset? We know priming is good for the mind.
Yeah, priming is good. I meditate all the time, and if you haven't meditated, like, I used to think meditation was people holding their hands up like this and going, like, it gets such a bad rap. I'm not so much these days. I think it like the way the world is, and people are becoming more open to self-help and like self-development and stuff like that. So meditation is more accepted nowadays. But meditation for me, because it's not even about clearing your mind. People go, well, I can't meditate, my mind's everywhere. Well, meditation is not about clearing your mind. The type of meditation I do is like a 6-phase meditation. So it's got to do with love, gratitude, forgiveness, creating a future, or envisioning or visualizing a future 3 years ahead, and asking for guidance on your journey. And so it's a 6-phase meditation. So I would say, even if you don't know where to start, there's a lot of free meditation out there that you can find that and I would suggest guided meditation, because when someone guides you through different stages, or it's a lot easier than just sitting there by yourself. I would say if you've done it for a while, then that's that's okay to do it that way, or some people can just start off by doing that. But if you're never done meditation, guided meditation is the best, because they walk you through different stages, and it's like they hold your hand. So yeah, I would say that. Also, I feed my mind with the food that I put into my body. I call it my brain smoothie. I have it every single day. So it's a mixture of, and I just put it in a smoothie and blend it all up. I'll put it in a blender and blend it all up. So I have leafy greens in there, spinach and kale. I have avocado. I put celery in there. I put eggs, 2 eggs in there. I put coconut oil. I put blueberries. I put walnuts. I put turmeric. So I put all these things in there, and they have all their benefits. I won't go through all their benefits, but the biggest thing is feed your mind with, like, because what you put in your body actually affects you. You see, the thing is, processed food and sugars, and I'm not trying to preach to anybody out there, like, what you do is up to you, but maybe there's a reason why you have brain fog, or things are slowing you down, or you don't have that motivation. What I'll say, you can't get that motivation, or you don't want to do something. Well, maybe it's because of the food that you're eating, because these processed foods, especially if you take away, like, from fast food companies, not even that, like, just processed foods and excess sugar really slows you down. So be mindful of what you put in your body. And I know that's so cliche, but it's so true.
Food is medicine. Food is nutrition. What you put in your body is the medicine that keeps you healthy. So anyway, so I would just want to thank you so much, Nate. I know that we passed the time here, and I know that you got up so early. And so thank you very much. And if anybody wants to contact Nate, you can do it on Instagram at Nate Graeske. Am I pronouncing that properly? Greske, Graeske, right? Or support at Nate.
Yes.
Graeske. Did I say?
It's close. You've done well. It's Graeske.
Graeske. Okay, thank you so much for the correction.
But it's closer than, because a lot of people say Grayski, but the E on the end silent, so it's Graeske. Okay.
So I know people have trouble with my name, and I'm just never offended, because it's a little different.
I just let people be, because no one's perfect. I don't try to correct. Yeah, right. It's because you asked me. I told you, but I just let it go.
So thank you very much for your time, and I wish you the best. I know that, as Michael says, that you will be very successful, that you will be helping a lot of different people, and you will make a difference in these people's lives. And I can't wait to see you soar like an eagle. So we will be in touch, and thank you once more for being here. And of course, I want to thank my audience for being here. And you know that every Thursday at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we have these wonderful guest interviews that I love to interview, because I love their stories. So you just heard Nate's story, and so do contact him. And so we'll see you next week. Thank you again, Nate.
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate your time. I appreciate this interview. I appreciate your viewers watching. I appreciate Mike dropping comments and saying all those nice things. I just appreciate you all, and it was an honor to be interviewed by you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, well, thank you. I just saw another note from Mike that he says, again, all the best to you, Nate. I will have a look at your course. There you go, Nate. Okay, so we're well on our way.
Yes. Thanks. Okay. Thanks, Lucy. It was a pleasure.
Okay, it's a pleasure too. Bye-bye.